Can we have Assemblymember Nazarian here to present on his bill? Whenever you're ready, Assemblymember.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair and fellow colleagues, AB 1597 prohibits the boards of CalPERS and CalSTRS from making additional or new investments or renewing existing investments of public employee retirement funds in any investment vehicle issued by, owned, controlled, or managed by the government of Turkey. Perhaps most importantly, the liquidation of investments in Turkey is contingent upon the passage of a federal law issuing sanctions against Turkey. This contingency clause ensures California's policy to divest from Turkey remains consistent with past divestments from foreign nations, including Sudan and Iran, and that PERSS and CalSTRS will not divest until the federal government has taken action first. I hope that wasn't me.
No, it's not you.
The Republic of Turkey's unwillingness to recognize the genocide and their unrelenting campaign to deny the genocide continues to discriminate against the Armenians and other ethnic minorities who suffered at the hand of the Turkish government. California's investment in Turkish government bonds directly subsidizes this denial of genocide. The bill continues California's commitment to act appropriately against countries that have a record of human rights violations and undermine democracy. With me, I have Haig Bagdasarian of the Armenian National Committee.
Go ahead, sir.
Yes. Good morning, Chairman Rodriguez and honorable members of the committee. My name is Haig Bagdasarian, and I'm here on behalf of the Armenian National Committee of America Western Region to urge your support of AB 1597, Assemblyman Nazarian's bill calling for divestment from the Turkish government-owned and controlled investment vehicles. And the rationale is simple. The Assemblyman stated it. Our state has a clear record regarding the Armenian genocide, and the government of Turkey spends considerable amounts every year in efforts to oppose our recognition and educating our children regarding the genocide. So in effect, we're indirectly subsidizing the denial of the genocide by investing in the government of Turkey. It's a very narrowly tailored bill. Assemblyman Nazarian has gone to great lengths to make sure that our public employees and retirees and teachers would not be negatively impacted. It would only impact government-owned bonds and state-owned. It's a finite, small list of investments, and towards that end, it would just call for no new investment. So, as articulated, it would not call for any sort of immediate divestment, which could have any adverse impact. So, I respect the pension funds and some of the other organizations' positions in trying to invest responsibly and wisely, but on the other hand, I think it's the role, it's your role as our representatives to reflect and make sure that our investments are consistent with our values as Californians. So this, in effect, would be putting our money where our mouth is and supporting the votes that you all cast on Monday in recognition of the Armenian genocide. The other thing that I'd just like to point out is that the government of Turkey, unfortunately, is no longer a safe investment bet. So I'm guessing that CalPERS and CalSTRS themselves are actually scrutinizing the investments. And just a few days ago, the democracy of Turkey, which had already been on the downturn, was eroded considerably through the passage of a referendum. So that's something else that I urge you to be cognizant of, and I urge your support on behalf of the near 1 million Armenian Americans in the state. Thank you.
With that, is there anyone else in support of this measure? Any members of the audience in support? Seeing and hearing none. Anyone in opposition to this measure come forward?
Second.
Okay, the bill has been moved and seconded, so we have some folks coming here to the table.
Good morning, Jennifer Baker with the California Teachers Association. It's my unfortunate role to have to testify in opposition to this measure, and we absolutely believe it's important that all governments and peoples recognize the horrible atrocities that happen with the Armenian genocide. So we do stand in solidarity as far as wanting to make sure that that message is communicated. Unfortunately, this measure can have lasting impacts on the CalSTRS CalSTRS fund, which is not fully funded. It took us 10 years to get a full funding mechanism, AB 1469, through the legislature, and we're still in the process of trying to make sure that our members' retirement funds are solid and secure. Anything that might potentially harm the ability for CalSTRS and CalPERSS to make sure that they have the right opportunities to make sure that they can keep our members' retirement funds secure is important. We also do want to note that I have been trying to work with the author's office to see if we can get the bill amended into an engagement bill, which we would very much love to support. So if there were an opportunity to still try to accomplish the goal through a different mechanism, we would be absolutely happy to do that. The dilemma when you move towards divestment is that tends to be a permanent factor. The legislature has moved forward with divestment in Sudan, for example. It's no longer one country, but yet there are still prohibitions from CalSTRS and CalPERS investing. So this can have long repercussions. So we would encourage engagement as opposed to divestment, because this way our pension systems will have long-term capabilities of trying to engage in systemic change while also making sure that they have the ability to ensure that our members' retirement funds are solid.
Thank you. Anyone else in opposition?
Chair, members of the committee, Dylan Gibbons with the California Special Districts Association. Similar to my comments earlier, our opposition is directly related to the fund, the CalPERS fund, and CSDA's position that divestment as an investment strategy is a losing strategy and one that will ultimately result in greater costs on employees and employers. Had the opportunity to talk with the author staff and also encourage the staff to and the office to look at ways to advocate without divesting. So with that, we're opposed to the bill.
Anyone else in opposition?
Dane Hutchings with League of California Cities. And I apologize for going slightly out of order. We are actually in sort of a tweener position. This is uncharted territory for us. My board is expected tomorrow to adopt an official opposed position, so that's why I could not formally engage, but we do align our comments with those of CSDA. Thank you.
Anyone else in opposition?
The Association of California Community Colleges will align our comments with our colleague from CTA. Fortunately, we're in opposition.
Anyone else in opposition?
Joycelyn Martinez-Wade with the California State Teachers Retirement System, and in line with the previous comments, also in opposition.
And with that, any questions by committee members? Seeing and hearing none, would you like to close?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for indulging me at this as the last speaker. I know it's been a hectic day for everyone, both committee members as well as the chair. I just want to address a couple of things very briefly and move forward. First of all, I very much appreciate the respectful disagreement, especially with organizations that I have great respect for and I've worked with in the past. So I do look forward to us being able to move beyond this and work together towards a resolution. There is the fiduciary component that was spoken about in this bill, and there will be no action can be taken unless federal government takes action. So there is that partial safeguard in place. What I'd also like to point out is I wish we didn't have to resort to this step. But this is something that if certain behavior is not reprimanded, is not held accounted for, it'll continue. And we've seen it happen over and over again. I do look forward to continually, and I'm committed to you, Mr. Chair, as well as my colleagues, as well as those who were opposing, to continue working with them to come up with a solution that will never compromise our residents and our constituents and their hard-earned investment as well. But I do want to work towards something that will also send a clear message that this behavior and the non-recognition and, in fact, denial will not be accepted. And with that, I would ask of your vote, of your support, and happy to answer any questions.
With that, I believe there was a motion and a second, but no, I believe there wasn't a motion and a second. But before we go there, as we spoke before, regarding this bill you had brought to me a while back. So I'm looking to support the bill today, but I asked that my colleagues who now have and are planning to introduce other divestment type of bills to strongly consider why and whether this is the most prudent course of action to deal with the issue, because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we have a sound, fiscally healthy plan to take care of our current retirees and our future retirees, and I think that's a big issue that we've been hearing throughout the day today, so I think the message is loud and clear from everybody on this committee that that we look at that at the end of the day, right, that we take care of our retirees. So with that, I don't know if there was a motion and a second. There was. Oh, there was? There was a motion and a second. Secretary, call the roll.
Rodriguez.
Aye.
Rodriguez, aye. Allen. Aye. Allen, aye. Gallagher. Cervantes. Aye. Cervantes, aye. Cooley. Cooper. O'Donnell. Aye. O'Donnell, aye.
Looks like it's out. You got 4 votes, but we'll keep it on call. Thank you.
Thank you all.